Start from Rav Sharaleh. Rav Sharaleh. Oh, you have a Gemara? No? Okay. I have extra Gemaras. I actually had them on my desk to bring, and I forgot to bring them. Mitzvah Shem bring one tomorrow. So the Gemara says, Rav Sharaleh Rabbi Acha bar Ada. Rav allowed Rabbi Acha bar Ada lemigna bar mim talalta to sleep outside the sukkah. Mishum sircha de gargishta, because of the bad smell of the white sand. Rav Latavei, Rav is going according to his reasoning. Rava says, Mitzstar, somebody who's distressed, somebody he doesn't like about the sukkah is bothering him. Pater min sukkah, he's bothered from the sukkah. Gemara asks the question of Anan Tanam, we learned in our Mishnah. Chaylin umisham sheim pater min sukkah. The Mishnah says those who are sick and their caretakers are pater from the sukkah. Make a diak. Chayla, somebody who's sick, yeah, he's pater. Mitzstar, just a guy who's doesn't like the smell in the sukkah. Lo, he's not pater from the sukkah. Gemara says, Amri, the answer, they said, no, don't be medaik that. That's not the inference. Chayla, the reason why we mention Chayla is to bring out that who umesham shevturim, him and his caretakers are pater. Mitzstar, who pater misham shavloi. Mitzstar, only he's pater, not his caretakers. So the chiddush of the Mishnah, why it shows the sick person, is to bring out the misham shehem part. But of course, the Mitzstar himself is going to be pater. Why by Mitzstar they are the misham shehem?
They need them, so Chayla needs them. Plus, right. The man of the house is gone.
Right. So we said yesterday that if a guy has his own personal problem and it's not enough to bring the oilam out, it wouldn't.
Who's not there?
Right. He's saying I'll just geschmack wise. I think you need a little bit of a servicing. You need a little bit of help from them, not just your oilam that you eat with. You're right in concept. If the father couldn't be in the house, then he'd probably don't be there either. Right. But I guess it's not enough. Not enough. We were talking about it last night also. It should really go into the same thing, that whoever eats with them should leave. That was that. The Gemara went on to the next part of the Mishnah was Oichlem achilas aray chutz sukkah. You're allowed to eat a snack outside the sukkah. The kam achilas aray, how much is a snack? What are we talking about here? Amar Rav Yosef, tarti oitlaz bei, 2 or 3 eggs worth of food. Amar Abai said to him, V'hazimnin sagin many times, sagile l'nishbahachi, it's enough for a person this amount. V'avli sudas keva, so it's a regular full-fledged meal. How can you tell me that's a snack? Elam Abai, rather Abai says this is how much. Kidetoyim bar beira v'ayal lakala, like the amount the yeshiva guy tastes, little taste before he goes into the shir, because he knows it might go a little bit later, so he wants to eat a little bit of snacks, he's not so hungry. And that amount is only 1 beya. He argues on the basis it's not 2 or 3 beya, it's only 1 beya, and this is what we're up to right now, by Tanu Rabbanan. Says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan. The Rabbanan taught in the Brisa. So the Gemara does not say, Rashi says it's a mouthful, and Rashi learns that a beya is a mouthful. So it's 1 beya, and he already said 2 or 3, so the one down less is 1. Tanu Rabbanan. The Rabbanan taught in the Brisa. Oichlin achilas aray chutz l'sukkah. You're allowed to eat a snack outside the sukkah. Okay? So the Brisa so far is saying the same thing as our Mishnah. Ve'ein yeshenim shenes aray chutz l'sukkah. You cannot sleep a temporary sleep. Shenes aray means a temporary sleep, but in our words we'll call it a nap. You are not allowed to take a nap outside the sukkah. End quote. That is the Brisa. You could take a snack outside the sukkah, which we learned in our Mishnah, but don't think, what about maybe take a nap, which is not really sleep, because we know you're chai to eat, you're chai to drink, and you're chai to sleep in the sukkah. Why we don't sleep in the sukkah is a lot of people not getting into that. But you're mechuyev to, be'etzem. We have pturim, mitzstar, it's too cold, whatever it is, but you have to officially sleep in the sukkah. So maybe the same way I could take a snack outside the sukkah, I could take a nap outside the sukkah. No naps outside the sukkah. Says the Gemara, my time, what's the reason? Why not? Why shouldn't you be able to take a nap outside the sukkah? Amar Rav Ashi, says Rav Ashi, Gzeira Shema Yerodim. It's a Gzeira, it's a decree, something might happen. Shema, maybe Yerodim, you'll fall into a deep sleep. Yerodim means a deep sleep. You're right. Technically, a nap is 100% fine. But there's a problem. Every nap, sometimes you see a guy dozing, and all of a sudden turns into a slumber. So therefore, Rav Ashi said it was a gzeira. Now you don't have that by food. By food, you can control yourself. You take a little snack. You're not going to run into a whole meal. But sleeping, you're not in charge. You're not in control of yourself. You start napping, and then all of a sudden, a lot of guys tell me, say, "Oh, I miss you by the Shalom Zachar." Yeah, I went down to my couch. I closed my eyes, and then before I knew it, it was Shachar. Like this happens. I was just taking a quick nap, and turns into a slump. So it's not something foreign to us. Says the Gemara, Amar le Abaya. Abaya said to him, a question. Abaya has a question on him. Elahod Tanya, but that which we learned in the Brisa, like comes out that which we learned in the Brisa. Yoshen Adam Shenes Sarai B'Tfilin. There's a Brisa that says you're allowed to sleep a nap with your tefillin. Okay, you're allowed to take a nap with your tefillin on. Avoloi Shenes Keva, but you're not allowed to sleep a real sleep, go into a deep sleep with your tefillin on. That's not allowed. That's the Brisa, and we'll talk about that in 1 second. Says Abaya. According Elahad Tanya means rather based on now your new assumption that we make zeras for naps that you might turn into a deep sleep. How are you going to learn this brisa? This brisa says you can nap with your tefillin on, but you cannot take a serious sleep with your tefillin on. We should make a zera that Shema Yiradim. You should be concerned he might fall into a deep sleep. Now let's just discuss this for a second. Why are you not allowed to wear tefillin when you're sleeping or when you fall into a nap, whatever else says? What's the story with this? You're not allowed to pass gas with tefillin on. Very important. Very, very important. Could be even this deraisa. You're not allowed to pass gas. You have to control yourself. And this is why a lot of other kids don't wear things like that until they're older. We have to be very careful that someone's able to be shamer himself properly. We do not want a person getting into a real sleep because it's pretty much impossible if someone's in a serious sleep not to pass gas. And therefore, only a shenas arai is allowed. A nap, we could assume nothing's going to happen. But says Abai, according to you, Rav Ashi, that says we make zeras naps for deep sleeps, which could happen. So how you this? What's up with this brisa?
Why is it going to that? What you just said, you can't have hesed.
Oh, it's a very good question. Could be a nap. Again, hesed hadas is a hard, thing. Even by a meal, someone's eating a meal and you fall asleep, you have to do Netilas Yadayim again. Because Yadayim Askani is saying, your hands are always moving around. You might touch yourself in a place you need to wash your hands again. But if you're like misnamnim, if you like doze off, you don't need to wash your hands. There's something about it, you have some sort of attention. You're not diverted. Hesed Hadas means diverted attention. You could have some sort of proper attention even within a nap. You don't have to wash your hands, and even with film.
Deep sleep?
Deep sleep, no, you don't have that.
So I'm saying, with Morris and Shem Yerodim, why trying to say the reason is you feel them to say, but Yerodim.
Oh, why by the Yerodim don't you have that?
Yeah.
They asked that. Even by a nap, they asked why you don't have that. I thought you asked even by the nap. But yeah, they do ask that question. So, sleeping, you have to be very careful. You see a guy sleeping with his tefillin on, you're supposed to, I'm not getting talach you're supposed to wake them up. It's very dangerous. You should not fall asleep with your tefillin on. Okay? Be very careful.
Is that Rosh and Yad, or that's just...
Any part of your tefillin. Any part. Not a word tefillin and be sleeping. So...
No, but is Guf Naki just Rosh?
Guf Naki? No. Both.
It's both.
Both. The tefillin, any part, Shalyad, Shalrosh, need to have a Guf Naki. Yeah. So Abayi's question is, where's the Shema Yiradim by tefillin? So the Gemara says, Omar Rav Yosef says, Rav Yosef braid the Rav Eloi, Rav Yosef the son of Rav Eloi, b'moiser shenasan la'acherim. You know what the Bryce is talking about? When you handed, moiser means you handed your shenasan, their sleep, to others. He basically made a shomer. He said to a guy, I want to take a short nap. I want you to stand right next to me. If this turns into a deep sleep, wake me up. He gave his sleep into the control of another person. So the Brisa, Rav Ashi's right. Really, we are nervous you might fall into a deep sleep. Why'd the Brisa say that a shenas ara is okay? Sounds like we're not nervous you might fall into a deep sleep. No, this Brisa, the tefillin, is referring to a case where he made a guard. He told the guy, I'm giving you my sleep, you're in charge of my sleep. If you see me getting into a serious sleep, wake me up.
So would apply to Sukkah also?
Oh, very good. So let's say a guy says outside the sukkah, can I just take a small sleep for a second, you wake me up? It sounds like, I'm not passing it, sounds like it would be okay. According to Rav Ashi, it's just like zera, you might Shema Yiradim. So therefore, it could be that it is okay. But look at the Gemara's next question. So therefore, based on this so far. Says the Gemara, Maskefle Rab Misharshia asked a question on him. He said, Arveich, Arva Tzarech. Arveich and Arv means a guarantor in a loan. Arveich, your guarantor, the guy who's watching you sleep, he's your guarantor. Arvot Tzarech, he needs a guarantor. You want to use this guy and say, you wake me up if I fall into deep sleep. Guess what happens? Imagine you have a Shalom Zachar Friday night. You tell your wife, I'm taking a nap, wake me up. All of a sudden, she's reading a book and she's sleeping. Like, you didn't gain anything. She needs, what?
We have shamer all over.
Right, there is a big question about that. Even by Shemrim, a lot of times, they can't be in your matzav. If let's say you and your wife, you say, you remind me about Kriya Shema tonight, whatever, and then we'll start eating the meal. Can't do that. Because she'll also get drawn in the nachat that we're eating a long meal. If you have a big oilam, you could. But it's not so pasha to make a shemer. If they're not involved in what you're doing, then they could be a shemer. So over here, this case, or I guess it was, maybe it was at night, I don't know, but sleep is something where someone else could fall asleep easily. You cannot have a proper shemer when it comes to sleep. It says, Misharshia, it's not a good answer. Your guarantor needs another guarantor. So therefore, this is a knockoff. We have a big problem with Rav Ashi's answer. Rav Ashi says, Xera, how are you going to work that out with tefillin? Even if you say you made a shemer, it doesn't make sense because that guy needs a shemer. So why by tefillin, a shenes are is okay, and by sukkah, shenes are is not okay? The Gemara answers, Elo, rather, this is the pshat. Omar Rabba Bar Chana, says Rabba, we'll talk about his name in a minute, in one more minute. Rabba Bar Chana, Omar Rabbi Yechanan, Rabba Bar Chana said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, B'meniach roishei bein birkov askinon. B'meniach roishei, he put his head bein birkov askinon, between his knees. Askinon we're dealing with. Different shot. You know why you're allowed to sleep a nap with your tefillin on? Because the case of that brisa was a really strange way of sleeping. You put your head between your knees, which is a very uncomfortable position, and therefore will not be such a long nap. I still remember one time in Shir, I even remember the guy. I cannot forget this. There was a guy, he was sleeping during Shir, right? Classic. It was an hour Shir. And he was like, everyone was watching this because it was an unbelievable sight to see. Till today, I can't forget it. And he was towards the front of the Shir. And he was like this, like that, falling asleep. And everyone was watching. He was like already like this. And he fell out of the chair. For the whole I'm telling you, I cannot forget that scene. He like woke up, he was on the floor. Al Kapanim, certain types of positions, I don't know how that guy did that. Like that, to me, sleeping like this and then boom. But if you put your head between your knees, that's very uncomfortable. You're not going to sleep deeply. So that's how Rabba Bar Chana answers. Really, there's no difference. Rav Ashi's okay. Rav Ashi's saying a good answer. Sukkah, we're scared you might fall into a deep sleep. The Bryce of film, you have to say a very specific case. The guy was sleeping with his head between his knees, and that's why he could take a nap. One thing as an aside, what's his name? Rabba Bar Chana. We see it all over the Gemara. What type of weird name is that? First of all, Bar, son. And second of all, Chana is usually a lady's name, right? He's the son of Chana. So, two things. They say his father's name was also Rabba. Okay, he was Rabba Bar Rabba, and the grandfather was Chana. Rabba Bar Chana. Rabba Bar Chana. So because it was like the same name twice, they just skipped it. It's like Rabba, the son of Chana, because it's like his name twice. Rabba, the son, who's also Rabba, who's the son of Chana. Okay, so I know Sephardim generally do that. They name after a living relative. I guess he did it also. So he was called Rabba,
Not after father.
I mean, the same name as his father. Let's just say that. Maybe it wasn't named after his father, but he had the same name as his father. Not everyone says this. This is like conjecture. What?
Maybe his father passed away.
Maybe his father passed when he was born. Could be. So he was Rabba, Barbar, and Chana is a man's name. So either because it's Chana, not Chana, or maybe Chana is one of these like interchangeable names, like Simcha. Simcha could be a boy or girl's name, or Yona. These types of names. So it could be, but he's Chana is a man. It's not Rabba, the grandson of a lady named Chana.
Simcha Zisa, there's two female names. Simcha Zisa, brother.
Say both girls.
Yeah, interchangeable.
Interesting. But fine. So that's how he takes care of it. Says the Gemara Viter. Rava Amar. Now what Rava's coming to do, I wrote a note in my Gemara. Rav is not coming to follow the same along the lines of Rav Ashi. He's not going with Gzeres Shemi Yerdam. Nupshat, why you can't take a nap outside the sukkah. Not because Gzeres Shemi Yeradim. Everyone till now was sort of working with that pshat. Rav is changing gears. Rava says, Ein keva l'shena. There's no fixed amount for sleep. What that means in English is, even the nap is keva. Even the nap is a real sleep. The same way we mentioned the earlier sugya, Abai didn't like the snacking of 2 or 3 eggs because that's already a lunch for some people. That's already food. Even the nap for some people is considered an amount that he needs for his sleep. It could be keva for him. All he needs, a lot of guys, is supercharge. I know for me, I take like a 2-3 minute nap. Boom, you have kaicha. So even a nap is not a snack. It could be a real keva. What? So, so it's just a nap. It's just a couple of seconds. That's okay. He's not going to pass. He's not going to be a fiach. He's not going to pass gas. But the sukkah, there's a rule. You could do napping, snacking. So here, it's not a nap. There's no such thing as a nap when it comes to sleeping, because even a nap could be a lot of sleep for somebody. Yeah.
Is it time length or is how deep of a sleep it is?
I'm not sure. It doesn't say so clearly what it is, but I think the idea is that some people, that type of sleep is enough for them. A drop of time, I would say, or maybe I would say a combination of both. A little bit of a doze and the sleep itself. For everybody's different. So again, some people could charge themselves. Some people are not good at that. They fall into sleep, need like a deep sleep, or else it doesn't work for them. A lot of people do a short nap, and it helps them out a lot. By the way, just one thing earlier in the Gemara, we mentioned Rav Ashi. They say it can't be Rav Ashi, because Rav Ashi was from the latest Amiroim. He sort of closed up the Gemara. Rav Ashi, Ravina and Rav Ashi were the ones that fully finished the Gemara, and it was closed after that. And he's talking over here with Abai said to him. So they say this is not the famous Rav Ashi. It's a much earlier Rav Ashi, not as famous. But anyways, that's Rava's answer with napping. Says the Gemara, a drop, start off the next brises, and we'll stop. Says the Gemara, because it's on the same sugya. Tani Chada is going to be a three-way stira. Tani Chada, one brisa says, Yoshen Adam B'tfilin Shenas Arai. One brisa says you're allowed to sleep with your tefillin, a nap, Avoloi Shenas Kava, but you cannot take a serious sleep. You can't have a fixed sleep with your tefillin on. That's one brisa. Nap okay, but nothing serious. V'tanya idach, there's another brisa. Idach means like another one. V'tanya idach, another brisa. Bein keva, bein arai. No. Either one you can't do, whether it's keva or real sleep, whether it's a nap. This brisa says you can't do any of them. That's this brisa. V'tanya idach, and we have another brisa that says, I'm sorry, I read it wrong. The first one was, bein keva, bein arai, you're allowed to. Okay? Bein keva, bein arai. I'm sorry, both you are allowed to. And the third one says, v'tanya idach, loy keva, v'loy arai, both you're not allowed to. Three-way machlokes, 3 different tanoim. First Tana says you're allowed to sleep an arai but not a keva, a nap but not a keva. One brisa says you could do both, and one brisa says you can't do any. We're going to have to figure out how do you answer up these steers. So the Gemara says, loy kasha. It's not a problem. Easy. I'll answer up every single brisa here. Ha denokiluhu biyadeh. The one that says, by ha, I would write the one that says you can't do any. The one that says everything's aser was denukit luhu biyadeh. You weren't wearing your tefillin. You were holding it in your hand. Denukit, you were holding luhu, the tefillin, biyadeh, in his hand. So if you're holding tefillin in your hand, any type of sleeping is dangerous because you might let loose and your tefillin will fall on the floor. So that's why you can't take any nap. That's that one, or any sleep. Ha, the one that said that keva is aser, real sleeping is aser, but arai, napping is okay. Demanchi bereshe, where it's on your head, it's placed on his head, and this brisa holds that arai is okay, like we spoke about earlier. Napping is okay, whether it's between your knees, different answers, but napping is okay. But a real sleep is a problem, where it's on your head, placed on your head. Even though it doesn't mention the arm tefillin, it's the same thing. It just means the tefillin are on your head. You can take a nap, but you can't take a real sleep, like the brisa said. Ha, the one that said everything's mutter, is where the tefillin weren't even on you. You took everything off, the paras sudra ilave, and you spread a cloth right next to your head. A guy wants to go to sleep, quickly take off his tefillin. Back then, he used to wear tefillin all the time. So he wants to take a nap. He quickly takes out his tefillin. He's exhausted, and he just wants to put it right by his head, either like on a small pillow, right by his head. And he puts a small paras sudra. He puts a garment over it. Shouldn't be bezayin to the tefillin. He's sleeping right next to it. He just spreads a cloth over it. That's fine. You can take a nap. You can take a real sleep. That's all good. It's all mutter. You're not even wearing the tefillin. It's just a bezayin to sleep next to your tefillin. If you put a wrapping over it, put a sudar. Sudar is a garment. You put a garment over it. Paras, you wrap it around it. That is totally fine. That answers up. The series will stop over here. Go ahead.